Hello there, it's Anthony Chancemuth from Authentic Marketer, and in this video, I'm going to run through how to use ChatGPT as both your marketing coach as well as your blog writing assistant. Okay, so I've put together a document which has all the information you're going to need to follow along. And so if you don't have that yet, you can go to, let me just bring this up here, theauthenticmarketer.com/chat GPT prompts. And there's probably a link to that document below the video somewhere. Just click on that. That should open up the document on Google Docs, and then you can view all the information in there, which will go along with what I'm showing you on the screen in a moment. Okay, so this whole training really is around how to do what's called prompt engineering, okay, which is a term that's being used to describe the act of developing prompts or questions that you can input into the AI tool, specifically ChatGPT, to then produce the desired results or output that you're looking for. Okay, so the key thing to remember here is the better the quality of the prompt, the better the quality of the output. Okay, so if you feed it something generic and general, like a general question, like how hot is it today? Then it's going to give you a general response. Now, if you were to say how hot is it in a specific city or location, like Sydney, Australia today, it probably won't be able to answer that question because it's not real time. But it's a better prompt than a general one. Okay, so let's jump into ChatGPT, and I'm going to walk you through this in two stages. We're going to look at using it as a marketing coach, and then we're going to look at how you can use it as a blog writing assistant. And I'm going to actually show you a live example of prompts that I've actually used already. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to share screen here. All right, so here we go. Okay, so we're inside ChatGPT right now. Let me just do a quick refresh. The server's being hit really hard. All right, so you're probably going to see a message like this, which is saying that we're experiencing exceptionally high demand. Please hang tight as we work on scaling our systems. What I'm reading that to mean is at some point real soon, they're going to be charging subscriptions to access the tool. And they really should, because the tool is amazing and we can't have these delays all the time. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you will see there's a series of, well, you have a new chat button at the top. And usually when you're starting out, you would just hit new chat. And then you'd have a blank screen and you could type in your prompt to get started. All right. One thing to note is that it's a good idea for every project or every type of session you're going to do that you create a new chat for it. And the reason for doing this is one, it's easy for you to identify which project it is on the left menu here, so you can always go back to it, and you can keep things nice and tidy in terms of, if you look at the examples I've got here, I've got marketing coach, I've got prompts for AI art, I've got calculator where I'm using ChatGPT as a calculator. blog writing assistant, and you may have some other ones, right? So you might do recipes, for example, and you want those things in different chats for your own organization. More importantly, it's for context for the actual AI, all right? Because what ChatGPT does is, as you're submitting prompts and it's producing results, okay, it's building up, it's almost like a memory, right? And it's recording all this information and context related to that particular chat or that particular interaction. And then as you're asking questions and submitting prompts, it's looking back at all the data that's already in there, that's been uh, submitted previously, and then it's then building upon that. All right. So that's another good reason to keep these things separate, especially if the topics or the projects are of a different nature. Okay. So let's start with marketing coach. Right. So here, the first prompt I've got up here is, now as I'm going through these examples, I'm not going to read through all the prompts I have in here. I just want to preface that now, just in the interest of time. You can refer to the document to see all the prompts listed out there with the output that has come from ChatGPT. Right, I'm just going to highlight a few in this particular video, just to give you a guide of some of the ones that I think are the most important ones, and then there'll be a bunch that I'm going to skip over, just again to keep this video as short as possible, at the same time giving you some good information and value. Okay, so let's start with marketing coach again. At the top, I started with this prompt, which is: my startup provides support for developing marketing strategy, building simple conversion sales funnels, writing email sequences, and content marketing. So here I'm just laying out, here are 4 services that my business provides, and these are actually the actual services that my business provides currently. And then I'm asking ChatGPT, what are potential target audiences for this business? All right. Now, you may see in other circumstances or in other people's examples that they don't jump into a question like this straight away, and they actually have the first prompt being some guidance to let ChatGPT know, hey, I'd like you to pretend that you're my marketing coach or my business advisor or my therapist or whatever it may be. So that's giving it a bit of context to guide the conversation. So you certainly can start with that. In this particular example, I didn't do that, and I found that I didn't need to. Right? Okay, I just went straight into giving some context around the services I'm providing, and then I'm asking it a specific question. Okay, and then the AI took that information, that context, and then provided a result. And it basically said, okay, based on these services you've mentioned, there are many potential target audiences. Here are a few ideas. Okay, and it's giving me 5 ideas: small to medium size businesses, solo entrepreneurs, nonprofits, e-commerce businesses, bloggers, and content creators. All valid, and some better than others, specifically for my situation. But as you can see, it's already giving me some good guidance as to, here are some ideas or target audiences you might want to think about. And you can certainly ask it to give you more, right? And then from there, we move on to the next prompt, and I'm asking, what are some different ways to position this business to differentiate from the many marketing firms out there? Okay, so now we're asking our marketing coach to help us with positioning. And here it's given 5 suggestions or 5 ideas on ways to position the business. So you can position on a specific niche or niche, for example, or an industry such as health and wellness, technology, or fashion. You could also position number 2 with a unique approach. So perhaps you could differentiate your business by highlighting your unique approach to marketing, such as a focus on sustainability, social media, or data-driven strategies. Number 3 is personalized service. So that's another way to position the business. Number 4 is around pricing. It suggested affordable pricing. Here, you can take that idea and say, well, okay, well, if it's suggesting affordable pricing, maybe I can position on premium pricing. That's another way to go about it, depending on what you want to do. And then finally, strong results is the 5th suggestion, which I really like. And this And I like the suggestion here saying that this could involve highlighting case studies or testimonials from satisfied customers. And I know this works because that's one of the services I provide to my clients, is actually creating those case studies for them, so then they can position their businesses with strong results, right? So I really like the response here for ways to position. Okay, the next, I'm going to skip over this one. Let's go to. Okay, I've asked here. There's a problem here saying, can you share more examples of positioning with unique approach based on our specific skill sets? I think this question could be framed better, and instead of saying based on our specific skill sets, the results actually are pretty good based on the context I provided earlier with the starting prompt. But you can also clarify this further if the results aren't coming up, what you expect, that it should be. Then you can, instead of saying something like our specific skill sets, by saying based on these specific skill sets, and then list out what those skill sets are in that one string of text, right? So that will just give it sharper, clearer guidance. Anyway, this question did produce a good result, and it says, okay, well, based on your positioning with a unique approach based on skill sets, here are 5 ideas you could look at. All right, you can position your data-driven strategies, social media marketing, content marketing, influencer marketing, video marketing, and all of those are certainly ideas I've played with in terms of positioning for my brand. Okay. The next prompt I used was, what's a good go-to-market strategy for this business? And this is basically, me asking my marketing coach here, how do I get word out about my business? All right. And then ChatGPT came back with a definition of GTM, which is go-to-market strategy. It's a plan for how you will reach and sell to your target customers. That's good to know because that's actually what I'm asking, right? And then it provides some ideas. Okay, so direct sales, partnerships, content marketing, paid advertising, referrals, all great strategies. And certainly when I'm coaching other small businesses around their marketing strategy, these are some of the things that we look at. Okay, so very, very cool. Okay, so another question that sort of led on from there, that I used as a prompt is, what are some compelling lead magnet ideas for attracting prospects who want to buy our services? And then the AI came back with some suggestions around that, which were really good. Ebook or guide, checklist, worksheet, webinar or online course, consultation or audit, tool or resource, a free tool resource such as a calculator, template, or software. And I like that it's given descriptions for each one of those recommendations, so you can definitely use that. So there's just a few examples and prompts that I've used to turn ChatGPT into a marketing consultant / coach, and you can go and play around with those for your specific industry and business as well. Okay, so now we're going to pop over to the blog writing assistant, and I'm going to show you how I use ChatGPT to actually help write a long form article, which was actually my latest newsletter that I published last week, and it really helped me save a bunch of time putting it all together and coming up with writing it all myself and doing all the research and everything else. It really, helped me speed up the process of getting started, and that's where a lot of people get stuck when it comes to writing content, right? It's the starting stage where it's like, what are the angles I should be focused on? What are the ideas? What are the concepts? And what's some information that I could put in there, to really flesh it out. And that's where a tool like this can be very, very powerful, right? So let's start with the first prompt here, which is write a LinkedIn post about the potential of generative AI to change how we do things. So before coming into here, I already, what I was thinking about was, what's been on my mind has been this conversation around, will AI replace copywriters? Certainly, being that I'm a professional strategist and copywriter, that's something that's been debated for months. And so I wanted to sort of write a piece which addresses that and then also adds my perspective on all of it, right? So now, instead of asking straight away for a blog post, which is certainly something you can do, I actually asked for a LinkedIn post to just sort of set a context for the rest of the conversation. All right. So it gave me, some good sort of information around generative AI, a definition. So this type of AI is focused on creating new and unique content, such as text, images, and even music and video. And then expanded on that definition. So this is very textbooky type, information. I didn't end up using this in the piece itself, but again, I use this prompt to give me and the AI just a starting point for the article. Okay, and then I moved from that to the next prompt, which is talk about how ChatGPT doesn't just write essays, social media posts, and blog content, which is a common assumption, I guess, when it comes when people think about chatbots and these sort of things and what they can do. And so it does talk about that, and it went into that, but really not the kind of response I was looking for. And I could have given it better guidance to give it me a better response. Okay, so let's skip down to. I'm going to jump through these because there's quite a few. I went through a number of prompts before. I narrowed it down to what I really wanted to focus the article on, which was okay. Is it time for small business owners and entrepreneurs to replace their copywriters with AI? Right, that's the question. Okay, so there's a lot of testing here that I put in here, and I'm going to go down to the prompt which is most relevant for the article, which is okay. Will AI replace copywriters and visual artists? That was my first attempt to get a response around this, and it was okay. But then I realized, okay, the real question that I want to ask here is, can small business owners replace their copywriters and VAs with AI tools? And now we get a better, much more focused response from the AI, right? So it's basically saying it is possible to automate some tasks currently performed by copywriters and VAs, for example, generating basic marketing materials or responding to customer inquiries. However, it is important to note that AI tools are not a replacement for human expertise and judgment. Specifically, it may not be able to produce work that is as nuanced or sophisticated as that produced by a human copywriter or a virtual assistant. Okay, and so that is really at the crux of the argument, and it's the number one reason why it's not a good idea to replace a copywriter with just an AI tool. And then it goes into things like ethical implications and these sort of things, which are really not the direction I wanted to go in with the article. But it's good to see that it's talking about that anyway. And then I asked about, can you tell me more about, what about photographers and graphic designers? Okay, and then it basically took all the context above it, and then it, gave some answer in response to that question. And here, it talks about, it's important to note that AI is not a replacement for human creativity and artistic vision. It's unlikely to be able to produce work that is unique or expressive as that produced by a human photographer or graphic designer. Now, if you've been following the AI art tools out there right now, this is being debated. But certainly there is an argument to say that photographers and graphic designers have a specific way of looking at things that can't be produced by an AI, right? Then I said, okay, well, let's take all that we've already spoken about and combine all of the above into a single blog post. And then it's basically the AI did that. It took all that information, condensed it into a really short. I wouldn't even call this a single blog post, but like I said, it does have a word limit of around 500 words. So if you want to ask it to write more, you could say, write a 2,000 word blog post or something like that. But just remember that it will cut out after around 500 words. So you're going to have to ask it to continue. And I'll show you an example of that very soon. And then I asked the bot to brainstorm 10 clickbaity headlines for this article. And it gave me a series of headlines, potential headlines here. I'm asking for clickbaity because I want it to give me, attention-grabbing headlines like those clickbait articles that are being headlines being used. But the intention here is not to clickbait people into reading my article. I'm just looking for specifically, headlines that it can suggest that evoke curiosity or get people interested enough to say, hey, I'll take a look at that. But it's up to the user, right, to determine, is this actually going to be clickbait or not clickbait? And I would stay away from the whole clickbait thing. Okay. Then I said, well, these are okay, but I really want the writing assistant here to give me headlines which are more relevant to the target audience. So I actually specified that a target audience are business owners and entrepreneurs. Rewrite the headlines with this audience in mind, and then it gave me some more headlines which were better, all right, but still not nailing the angle or the focus that I wanted for the article. So then I elaborated a little bit further, and I said, okay, this is a target audience, and they are considering replacing their copywriters, assistants, and designers with AI. So rewrite the headlines with this audience in mind. And now we get to the good stuff, right? So it took me 3 attempts, but it finally got to this prompt, which gives it enough context to get what I'm looking for, which is headlines like the pros and cons of replacing your copywriter with AI, AI versus human assistance. Is it worth the investment? And then number 5, which is the one I ended up choosing, which is the AI decision. Is it time to say goodbye to your copywriter? Okay. And then I said, the next prompt was to actually ask the ChatGPT to write a blog post outline for this blog post. Okay, so the prompt is write a blog post outline for number X, and in this case I chose number 10, but I didn't like the output, and I then decided I actually like headline number 5 better. So then I asked it to write an outline for number 5, and it had an attempt, but as I was reading through the bullet points, I noticed a couple of things in there that weren't really what I was looking for. So I then rewrote the prompt as write a blog post outline for, and I actually copy and pasted the title that I wanted to use for the article, and that gave me a better outline. So as you can see, it's an iterative process, and you get better at prompting by giving it more specific context in the questioning that you're giving it. Okay, so that ended up being the outline that I used in the piece. If you go check out the full article, you'll see that. And then here is where I ask it to write, given that it's done headlines, it's given us an outline. I've said, okay, now using that, write a 2,000 word blog post using this outline, and everything discussed so far. And then he went and started doing that. Okay, as I mentioned, it cut off at around 500 words. So then I had to put in a prompt, which was continue, and it continued with expanding on that particular blog post, right? I tried another thing here which didn't work too well, so I'm going to skip all of that. And then I wanted to add some more thinking around human advantages over AI when it comes to marketing. So I asked ChatGPT, where do humans have an advantage over AI when it comes to marketing? And with that prompt, I got 4 ideas or suggestions around that, which were good. It was a good starting point, but I felt there were still a couple of things missing based on my experience, marketing for brands and working with humans. And I asked it, well, one thing that I know is that AI can't go and interview your customers and clients and collect stories and data in that way. So what about talking with customers, collecting stories, surveying, and customer research? And then it gave a nice explanation here on, talking with customers or doing these things are where humans have an advantage. That's because these tasks require empathy, emotional intelligence, and ability to connect with customers on a deeper, more personal level. How is that for a powerful statement, right? So that was awesome. Then I said, okay, well, there's another thing that humans can do that AI can't do is coaching and consulting. And let's talk about that. So I asked it to add a paragraph about coaching and consulting and the benefits of working with a human, and then it elaborated on that thing. It's, expanded on that and said, the ability to understand and connect with clients on a deeper, more personal level. These are things that AI can't really do, right? So it says, while AI may be able to provide some guidance and support, it is unlikely to be able to fully replace the value of working with a human coach or consultant. Okay, and then I asked to expand on or talk about, to say something about a human coach being able to empathize and feel into a situation during a coaching session, and it gave me some information about that, which was something that was good, like empathy's ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, and an essential part of the coaching process, which is true. A human coach has the ability to listen and understand, and to provide guidance and support that is tailored to the individual needs and goals. Okay. You can also try different things here, in terms of prompts with different tones of voices, like saying, write the following with a casual tone, or write the above with a casual tone, or a funny tone or a humorous tone. What I found is that ChatGPT isn't really good with doing that just yet. So I find that, that for me, it hasn't come out really well. So you can test it. And let's go down to, we're going to go down to, okay, what is the role of copywriting in a business's marketing and branding efforts? Okay, because the article is about copywriters, and then it gets into that and explains how copywriting is important for branding and marketing. And then here's a nice little trick or prompt you can use to essentially summarize a whole string of text or multiple paragraphs into a bullet point list. Right. So I just said rewrite the above as a checklist, and then ChatGPT gave me a good, 7 or 8 bullet points here, bullet point summary of what it had given me before. So then I could, easily enough copy and paste this summary into a section of my article, and give that a heading, which makes it a lot, improves the readability for my readers. Okay. And then I asked the question around tone of voice. How important is tone of voice for a brand, and why are human copywriters better than AI for this? And then it expanded on that. And then I asked it to list the pros and cons of replacing a copywriter with AI. And this is a good prompt to use if you want the AI to evaluate pros and cons of something, right? So it basically spits out a list of pros and a list of cons. And then I asked it, in what circumstances would it make sense to replace your copywriter with AI? And so my intent here is to really guide the reader, the business owner, on deciding whether or not AI, is whether or not they're going to go all in on AI and replace the copywriter with the tool, right? And so I want it to have this also be in the piece. And then once we got down to here, I basically said, okay, the prompt is write a conclusion paragraph summarizing all of this, and it gave me a nice paragraph which summarized the whole thing. And I was happy with that. And then I started to think about, okay, we've got the article or the pieces of the article. It's not. So then the next step would be to go into a Google Doc or whatever it may be, copy and paste the different sections, based on the outline that it had given me, and then start to add within that, I may want to add links to specific articles, research that's out there, whatever it may be, my stories, my perspectives, my experiences added in there. So now we're adding a human layer on top of the AI layer, right? And that's very important. I'm going to share why shortly. And then we haven't finished yet. What I wanted to get my blog writing assistant to do was to help me then promote the article. And I asked it to write 5 attention-grabbing tweets to promote this article. And it gave me 5 suggestions. I could have asked it for 10 or 20. And so you can do that as well. And here, really I found the first 2 were very good. And the last 3 didn't fit the context or the angle I was looking at for the article. So I think if I asked for write 5 attention-grabbing tweets to promote this article, and then gave it a bit more context, then then it probably would give me better tweets or better social media posts, right? But the first two were usable, so that was good. And then finally, I thought about, okay, how would I promote this on Twitter? I can use single tweets. I can also do what's called a tweet storm or a tweet thread, where it's usually a series of tweets in one thread, right? And then I, taking the idea from the previous prompt, I basically, or the list of results here, I said, okay, well, let's give it the audience, and again, remind the AI that the audience are entrepreneurs wondering if they should replace their copywriters with AI. And therefore, it then gave me a series of tweets for this tweet thread or the tweet storm, these are really good, right? So I can then take this and turn it into an IG carousel, right? A series of images, and then that becomes a carousel that I put onto Instagram, or I could create a PDF document, like a slideshow, and upload to LinkedIn and use it that way. So this is very handy for that. So there you have it. That's how I used ChatGPT as my blog writing assistant. You can actually view the final edited and piece for this particular article in the Google Doc. I put a link to it in there, so you can click in there and go over across to the final article and check it out, and you'll see. I challenge you to find the pieces that were written by AI and what pieces were written by me, the human. And just to wrap up this particular training, I wanted to run through an important note, which I've got in here. Okay, so right here where it says, note, if your goal is to produce articles that rank on Google, ChatGPT will not provide a complete ready-to-publish article. So it's not as simple as go in there, ask it to write a blog post, and then once it's gives you the result, you copy and paste that onto your website and hit publish. Okay, that's going to cause problems. Right, so it will require human editing and fact checking before publishing. Right, so don't believe everything that it tells you, especially if there's dates and numbers and facts and cited studies. Right, so you have to actually get a human to check those things, because you're going to lose credibility if you put fake news out there. The second major issue here, or thing to note, is that Google have in their algorithm the ability to detect AI generated content. And what they're doing is they have an entire algorithm which is designed to look for what they're calling spam content, which is completely auto-generated content, which would fall under something that you might produce in ChatGPT. So I recommend you use a tool like originality.ai, and there's a link to it here. You can go and check that out, which can actually do both a plagiarism and an AI check. And it gives you a rating on what percentage of the text is human versus what percentage is AI, and then your goal is to try and get it to minimum 80% human. Okay, and that's going to bypass the checks that Google is doing on content. Now, if any content on your site is found that to be higher in AI, then what Google will do is actually penalize that content, right, and so it won't rank, right? So important, if your goal here is to produce articles and content to try and get a ranking on page 1 of Google and search engines. Okay, so that's a very important note. And one more thing here is I wanted to show you is there is a list of all 26 prompts that I ran through in this document, and I put it here as a nice summary table, and I put it in a template format, so you can basically copy the template, paste it into ChatGPT, and replace the prompts, this information with your own information. Okay, and that way you can use it quick and easy. All right, and then just to wrap up, we have also, I've put in here a list of additional resources. You can join my weekly newsletter where I share actionable marketing, online business, and personal development tips delivered every Friday in your inbox. And I will be talking about tips and tutorials that I'm doing on AI tools and other tools that I'm using as well. Free newsletter, check that out. And there's some other AI related goodness and other links that you can play with and take a look at as well. And I want to give a shout out to Justin Brooks, who actually created a document similar to this, which actually was the one that inspired me to do this and put my own spin on it. So go and check that out. Okay, so there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me in this training. Best thing you can do now is go and play with the tool, and then I'd love to hear about your stories and see the content that you're producing with ChatGPT. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you